Hi, everyone. Today, we're going to explore a fascinating question: what is the role of the poet in society, and how has it changed over time? From ancient storytellers in Greece to modern poets on Instagram, the poet's place in the world has shifted dramatically. But as we'll see, poetry has never really disappeared, it has simply found new ways to speak to us. Before we begin, let's ask, why should we care about poets? Poetry is more than just beautiful words. For thousands of years, poets have played important roles. They've shaped history, supported leaders, and even helped build nations. Their role has changed a lot over time, but poetry is still needed today. In fact, in our fast-paced digital world, it might be more important than ever. Let's start with ancient Greece. Back then, poets were not seen as strange or lonely artists. They were respected leaders, almost like public intellectuals. They kept the myths, history, and values of their society alive through their words. And those words had real political power. They supported the laws and the city itself, the polis. Famous figures like Solon and Alcaeus didn't just write poems, they used poetry to take part in public life and share their political ideas. At the same time, in places like Ireland and Wales, another kind of poet existed, the bard. Bards were professional poet-singers. Their job was to remember and recite the history of their tribe, family trees, heroic battles, and important events, all in verse. They worked for kings or chieftains, they praised their leaders in public, but they could also write satires, funny or angry poems, to criticize enemies. To help people remember long stories, they used rhyme and rhythm. Later, the word bard became a general term for any great poet, like Shakespeare, who is often called the Bard of Avon. As time passed, the poet's role kept changing. In the Middle Ages and Renaissance, poets wrote epic and chivalric poems, stories about brave knights and noble heroes. These poems celebrated shared values like honor, loyalty, and courage. Then, in 19th century Italy, during the movement to unify the country, called the Risorgimento, poets like Carducci and D'Annunzio became known as poet-prophets. They weren't just writing for art's sake, they were helping to build a national identity and inspire people to believe in a united Italy. But in the 20th century, something changed. The poet began to seem less important in everyday life. Some people even saw poets as out of touch, interested only in abstract things, or even useless and disoriented. Why did this happen? Because society moved from oral storytelling, to books, and then to mass media, like TV and the internet. In this new world, the poet no longer had a clear public role. As one writer put it, the poet is no longer a voice for everyone, but for those who listen. But here's the good news, poetry is not dead. It's changing. In our fast, noisy, digital world, poetry offers something rare: reflection, emotion, and critical thinking. While mass culture often encourages quick, shallow content, poetry stands as a bulwark, a strong defense, against superficiality. It gives us a space to slow down, feel deeply, and think carefully about what really matters. And thanks to new technology, poetry is finding new life. Today, poems appear not just in books, but on Instagram, TikTok, online magazines, and e-books. New forms are growing in popularity: slam poetry, spoken aloud with passion and rhythm, often in live performances. Electronic poetry, which uses sound, video, or even interactivity. In a way, this brings poetry full circle, back to its roots as a public and performative art, just like in ancient Greece or Celtic courts. But now with smartphones instead of harps. So, why does poetry still matter? Because it's not a luxury. It's part of being human. Poetry uses special language, rhyme, rhythm, rich words, to create deep meaning. And every reader finds their own meaning in a poem. It's a personal experience. Today's poets may not speak for entire nations, but they speak to anyone who listens. They build small communities, encourage honest emotion, and remind us to think deeply. As the text says, the word, when nurtured, can still be a song that moves and connects us. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Think about these questions. Have you ever read or heard a poem that moved you? Can a poet today influence society? How? Would you share a poem online? Why or why not? Poetry isn't just for experts, it's for everyone who wants to express something true. Thank you for your time and attention. I'll see you on the next video.